Hi. Hello. Welcome to another video. Today we are chit-chatting about some of my favorite bronzers. I have some creams, I have a couple powders. Let's go ahead and get into it. Also, really quickly, look at these ginormous, like, no-bend clips. I saw them at Ulta and I was like, holy those are the biggest little clips I've ever seen. So clearly I need them. I just have a very little bit of makeup on. Let's go ahead and get started. The first one that I would recommend if you're pale, if you're a redhead, if you just want something super light, as in lightweight, as in light opacity, this is the one. This is the Makeup by Mario Softsculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in the shade Light. Clearly, I love this. That's the swatch on my hand skin. I will swatch all of these on my face. It definitely feels like a gel more than a cream. It's almost like a pressed liquid in a way. Typically for cream bronzers, I'm reaching for the BK Beauty 109. If you have a cool undertone, which means when you look at the veins underneath your skin, if they appear more blue and purple as opposed to like a bluish green, then you would be considered a cool toned person. Keeping that in mind, that's how I'm going to grade everything. I would consider this a warm bronzer. Not orange in the slightest, and right here you can just barely tell it's like sun-kissed, glowing a little bit more, and also you can see it has a glossy texture. Now I do find that this is not the most long wearing. How could it be when it feels like this, right? It's perfect for if you're going to brunch for a few hours, or like going to the grocery store, walking the dog, like simple everyday things. This will not be there at the end of a 8-hour workday. It just can't. It's not formulated that way. Having said that, I will let you know that it does fade off very nicely. It doesn't leave splotches. You don't look like, you know, Swiss cheese. It fades evenly, okay? I really do love this for when I'm going super light on my coverage. And I'll put the card here with just some information about it according to the brand itself. And the price as well, because that's important when you're considering bronzers. Dewy finish, very light opacity. I would call this a warm color, but not orange. Not very long lasting, but I love it, okay?
And I am cleaning off the brush in between these.
Another formula that is kind of unique that I really enjoy is the Phyto Surgence bronzer formula. I have two shades, the shade Golden Daybreak and the shade Rosy Daybreak. There is a slight color difference in these. Golden Daybreak, very neutral, almost kind of olivey in the pan, and this is Rosy Daybreak, which in person is definitely more rosy. It has like a purple hint to it. I like to use golden to literally bronze and then rosy to contour. Unless I'm going for like an overall cool tone look, then I'll just use rosy all over. So I do reach for rosy more. These are unlike a formula you have probably ever felt. It literally feels like the top of a table. It's not something you could just pick up on your fingers and rub on your face. And Phyto Surgence does sell their own brushes. You don't have to use their brush, but you kind of know that it's going to work, right? They suggest you work the brush into the product really, really well. Just, you know, think about your day. Think about all the things that you're going to accomplish and how far you've come. And then you should have enough bronzer. Golden Daybreak. And this formula is a cream to powder. I find that this one has the same sheer opacity as the Makeup by Mario. Hopefully you can see this is Makeup by Mario, this is Phyto Surgence. This one blurs the skin, and this one is not just like straight up glossy on the skin, so this one's going to work a lot better for those of you who are wanting something very sheer, but you're more on the oily side, or things just tend to move around in your bronzer areas in general, right? And super subtle, no makeup kind of vibes, but I also love to wear them when I'm wearing a full face. I like the versatility. It's very much appreciated. One from Phyto Surgence, this is the Sky Buff, and I'll show you Rosy Daybreak. And again, this one is the one I use most often because it just gives me a little hint of a shadow. I'm going to use this right here also, it's good to note that this is a formula that you don't have to be precious with. Like, hopefully you can see I'm like just basically slapping it on, and it's still going to look really, really nice. All right, and there is Rosy Daybreak. You can see that it kind of sculpts my skin tone a little bit more because it's complementing those cool tones that I already have within my skin. This is Golden Daybreak and this is Rosy Daybreak. Phyto Surgence designed them in a way that you can wear multiple shades within the range and still find something that works for you. So I just love, 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 love. Everything I'm showing you, I love. But this is just such a unique formula, and it really does blur the skin. Not going to emphasize texture like this Makeup by Mario one. Hopefully you can see those teensy tiny dots on my forehead. The Phyto Surgence side looks so smooth. Again, I love all of these, but there are some subtle differences. Really? My power just went out. For no reason. Okay, we're recording. Power's back on. Another Favy Fave in the bronzer, bronzer kind of category. This one kind of follows that same vein as the Rosy Daybreak for my skin tone. It is the Umma Beauty Double Take Contour Stick in the shade White Pearl. And I'm going to place this one right here, right off the bat. You can tell it's immediately a lot more gray. But when I blend it out, I feel like the warmth definitely comes out. It makes for a really good in-between, like I said, kind of a bronzer, if you will. That word, for some reason, like gives me the heebie-jeebies. I really don't like it. But you can see, just like the Rosy Daybreak, it sculpts while also bringing a little bit of warmth. Also, that took like 3 seconds to blend out. The formula is very creamy. We're moving on to the more pigmented side of things. This is definitely very pigmented. You need a tiny little bit and it'll spread like butter. And this will last all day. Made in Italy. More wonderful things about it. It is creamy and dewy at first. It does partially set down. I'm not going to say it sets down completely matte. It still leaves your skin looking juicy and hydrated, but it doesn't move, if that makes sense. So I really love this one too. Bronzer has been removed, so we can add more. The next one that I really enjoy and recommend would be the Rare Beauty Bronzer Stick, and I have mine in the shade Bright Side. This is the most recent lightest shade in the collection. I like this formula. Not only is it very easy to apply and it's a little stick, you can kind of see it has more yellow than orange to it. I find that for me that really works. But my main love for this is the formula. This is a 100% a cream to powder formula. It blends out very effortlessly. That powder finish really ensures longevity, and it is definitely the most warm bronzer I've put on so far, but it still looks really at home on my skin. I find that I am lucky in a way because the warmth of my red hair allows me to get away with wearing warmer bronzers than, like, if you have pale skin and cool toned blonde hair, it might not work for you. So that's where you would want to focus more on things with a grayer or a purpler, a more gray or purple kind of undertone within the bronzer. This one is really nice. I really enjoy it for summertime because things tend to sweat off my face, and this formula hangs in there for me. Believe it or not, I do have a drugstore option that I really enjoy, and that is the JUVIA'S Place bronzer in the shade Buttercream. This has quite a bit of coverage, pretty neutral. See, there's that just hint of yellow in it. Things with a hint of yellow work for my skin and my hair in particular, because if it goes past yellow, it's going to be too orangey and I'm going to look like an Oompa Loompa. But this formula is so creamy, so buttery. It also dries down to a powder finish, so it's going to last. It very much gives me like the same energy as the Rare Beauty one. They're pretty dang similar now that I'm comparing everything side by side, but this is a fantastic bronzer. Alright, now I'm switching over to a BK Beauty 103 brush because it's time for the powders that I love. The first one is the Jane Iredale Pressed Bronzer. I have the lightest shade. Y'all know, if you don't, I'm telling you right now, I love Jane Iredale powder formulas. Just like Their powders are so smooth on the skin. Swatched right here, again, a very neutral kind of shade. You can even see it in the freckles on my hand. That color is found within there. So that's really what I'm going for, just trying to find colors that naturally occur on my own skin and go from there. Like, this is so smooth. It doesn't look like a powder on the skin. It doesn't look cakey or textured. Easily built up, easily shared out. I love it. I don't know what to tell you other than that I love it. It's pricey, but a little bit goes a long way, and it's the formula for me on this one. And last but not least is the powder version of the Umma Beauty Double Take Sculpting and Bronzer. This is in the shade White Pearl. This probably looks like a face powder on camera, and it is the lightest bronzer that I have. Swatch. That's the swatch. You can barely see it, but I love it. I just bought this maybe a couple months ago, and the embossing is already gone. Pale skin friend right here. Regardless of what your hair color is, or what your undertone is, this is neutral. I think it'll work for everyone. That's what it looks like on my skin. Ignore this harsh line right here. That's just because I used a makeup wipe to remove the bronzer before it. It's matte. It's blurring. It doesn't sit chunky on the skin. It looks super smooth. The reason I love this one so much is, yes, I can use it all over my face for a very subtle bronze if I want to do powders for my no makeup kind of look. But I use this almost every time I do my makeup. Right when I put blush on, sometimes the contrast between my very, very white skin and the blush that I apply is just too much. I look like a reverse raccoon, right? So I take this bronzer on a fluffy brush and I just do sweeping motions, and it just knocks back the stark whiteness without looking like I have literal bronzer under my eye. It's fantastic. I love to use it to set other cream bronzers because it's not going to add a ton of its own pigment. It's just like amazing. Definitely one of those you could close your eyes and apply kind of thing. Whereas the Jane Iredale powder is pretty pigmented and you want to use a bigger, fluffier brush. This one goes on sheer so you can build it up, and I really appreciate that. Umma Beauty makes amazing products. This is no exception. I love it. So I hope that kind of clears things up as to why I love certain bronzers in my collection just a bit more than others. These are some absolute favorites. If you count the Phyto Surgence ones as one, there's 7 bronzers here that really check different marks for different reasons, but they're the favorite of the mark that they check. If that makes any sense at all, probably not. If there's a bronzer that I didn't show and I have in my collection, just send me a DM over on Instagram. I'll be happy to swatch it for you. Let me know some of your favorite bronzers and why you love them. And if there's anything that I need to try because you love it so much, hopefully this was helpful. It was fun for me, so hey, at least there's that. Don't forget to check out my other socials. It is Holly Beth Makeup everywhere. As always, be blessed and be kind, my friends, and we'll see each other again very soon. Bye! In my Hey Arnold shirt.